The broadcast cut through the silence of space like a blade, transmitted in perfect clarity to every inhabited world in the outer systems. Even on Varelia, a colony half buried beneath frozen canyons and faded rebellions, the signal pulsed insistently through the atmosphere like a war drum. Holograms ignited above every plaza and console. A towering figure appeared. High Executor Kalis of the Imperial Dominion, clad in ceremonial armor, eyes like polished obsidian. His voice, cold and exacting, rolled out across the stars. All systems outside core alignment are hereby commanded to kneel. You will surrender control of all infrastructure, personnel, and intellectual assets to the Dominion. Refusal will be interpreted as hostility. Your defiance will not endure. The message repeated twice before the transmission dissolved into static, leaving behind a silence that settled over Varelia like ash. In the mining settlements and domed cities, no one spoke. Some stared at the empty sky. Others lowered their heads, already mourning what was to come. On a rocky ledge above the northern ice shelf, Commander Ilara Kale watched the signal fade from a stolen Imperial interface. She didn't move. Her breath came in slow clouds against the glass of her helmet. In front of her, the ruined remains of an old planetary defense turret jutted from the snow like a buried monument. It hadn't fired in 15 years. She removed her helmet slowly, feeling the sting of cold air on her skin. The wind whispered through her short, uneven hair as she activated her personal log. Dominion broadcast intercepted. Varelia is marked. Just like Aurelis. Just like Ven's Reach. She paused. Her voice, usually steady, wavered for just a moment. They're not giving us time this round. They want surrender or ruin. Nothing between. A flicker of movement appeared in her peripheral vision, a faint shimmer against the sky. The cloaked shuttle, sleek and dark as spilled ink, descended in near silence behind her. The ramp extended, steam curling from the joints as the warm interior air met the chill of the ridge. A familiar voice greeted her from the shadows. Still brooding on icy cliffs? You really don't change, do you? Ilara turned. Captain Drax stood at the base of the ramp, arms crossed, half his face hidden beneath a frost-scarred respirator. His armor bore no insignia, just old burn marks and scavenged plating. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You're early, she said. Your message was urgent. It's always urgent now. They descended together into the ship's hold, where lights flickered to life along the walls, makeshift quarters, racks of stolen tech, a central console flickering with intercepted Imperial data. Ilara walked to the display, fingers dancing across controls with practiced familiarity. Lines of red scrawled across the galactic map, highlighting worlds already lost to the Empire's advance. They're not consolidating anymore, she said. They're consuming. One broadcast, one fleet, and an entire system collapses. Drax studied the map. They won't stop with Varelia. They never do. For a moment, only the hum of the ship's reactor filled the space. Then Drax reached into his coat and pulled out a data drive. He offered it to her without a word. Ilara slid it into the console, watching as encrypted files spilled across the screen. This is the Black Armada, Drax said. The name fell like a spark in dry tinder. Ilara stared at the data as if it might vanish. Fragmented visuals, radar echoes, unconfirmed sightings, fleets emerging from nowhere, obliterating Dominion squadrons in minutes, then vanishing. The reports were scattershot, bordering on myth. Until now. You found them? They found us. 3 days ago. Hijacked a signal we sent to the Reaches. Left coordinates and one message. What did it say? We don't kneel. Ilara exhaled slowly, the heat of the moment pushing back the chill in her chest. For years, the Black Armada had been whispered like a prayer, fleet ghosts, war machines without masters, a vengeance no one could summon. The Empire dismissed them as rogue AI. Rebels called them hope. No one ever proved they were real. Until now. Why me? She asked. You're the only one they contacted directly. Maybe because of your past. She bristled. You mean my defection? I mean your rebellion. He met her eyes, and for a brief second she saw the fire behind his mask. The same fire they'd carried together out of the Dominion's academy. Back when they believed a soldier's loyalty could mean something beyond obedience. They think you're still willing to fight, he added. And they're offering you something no one else will, strength. Elara looked back to the console. The coordinates blinked at her from the edge of the map, positioned deep in uncharted space. Erebus 9. A dead system. No known traffic. No habitable worlds. A good place for ghosts to hide. I don't know if I'm still that person, she admitted. I walked away for a reason. Drax took a step closer. And you stayed away while worlds like Varelia were broken. You've got blood on your hands, sure. We all do. But at least they remember your name. She turned sharply. Don't lecture me. Then let me remind you. You trained half of the Dominion's fleet commanders. You know how they think. How they fight. You're not just useful, you're dangerous to them. That's why they want you dead more than any pirate or defector. So ask yourself, what happens when they finally reach you? When you've run out of cliffs to brood on? Her jaw tightened. Silence stretched between them, taut and fragile. Finally, Elara spoke. Prep the ship. We're leaving at first cycle. Drax nodded and walked away without another word. Left alone, Elara stared again at the blinking signal. Erebus 9. The Black Armada. The last chance, perhaps, to strike at the heart of the Empire before it crushed every remaining world. She didn't know if they were allies, zealots, or something far worse. But she did know one thing. The Dominion expected her to kneel. She'd rather burn. Let me know when you're ready to move on to Section 2. The Erebus 9 system was colder than memory. A dead sun hung low in the void, dim and bloated, its fading corona casting a red glow that made the stars themselves seem rusted. Jagged asteroid fields floated in silent drifts, debris from a long-forgotten planetary collision. No life signs, no transmissions, just silence, profound and unnerving. Elara's fingers hovered over the throttle as her ship emerged from slipspace. The vessel's cloaking flickered momentarily before stabilizing, its stealth mesh adapting to the deadlight spectrum. She stared through the viewport at the nothingness ahead, heart beating steadily, calculating. If this was a trap, it was a good one, but instinct whispered otherwise. Beside her, Drax scanned the passive sensors. No activity. Not even background radiation from comms. It's empty. No one leaves a signal in a graveyard unless they want to be found, Elara muttered. She adjusted the ship's vector and activated a short burst of electromagnetic ping. Broad, indiscriminate, reckless. The silence swallowed it. 5 seconds passed. 10. Then every alarm on the console lit up at once. From the blackness, ships unfolded. Not emerged, unfolded. Like origami from another dimension, their forms shimmered into reality one by one. Black hulls without insignia, surfaces rippling with adaptive plating. Hundreds of them, perhaps thousands, encircling the asteroid belt in perfect formation. The largest of them, easily the size of a city, angled toward Elara's ship. It bore no name, only a symbol etched in pale gray across its bow. A sun eclipsed by a blade. They were waiting, Drax whispered, tension tightening his grip on the console. They were watching, Elara corrected. A signal cut through their systems, direct and absolute. Not a request, a command. She met Drax's eyes. You can stay here. He shook his head. Not a chance. The docking sequence was seamless, guided by invisible tethers that locked their ship gently into a cavernous hangar. Inside, the lights were low, casting long shadows over industrial walls and machinery humming with impossible tech. They descended the ramp slowly, cautious but unarmed. No guards met them. No escorts. Just silence. Until the air shifted. A man stepped into view, tall and thin, his body a collage of metal and flesh. His face was partially masked by a neural interface that pulsed with faint blue light. One of his eyes was wholly mechanical, tracking them with eerie precision. Yet there was nothing lifeless in him, only control. Power held in tension. "Commander Ilara Kale," he said, voice even, metallic undertone barely masked. "Welcome aboard the Obsidian Rain. I am Admiral Kor Valek." She didn't speak immediately. She studied him, his movements, posture, cadence. Not an AI, but something close. Enhanced beyond natural limitation, yet still grounded in human experience. A hybrid of war and will. "You're real," she said at last. "So are you." He gestured for them to follow. They moved through corridors unlike any Imperial ship, fluid architecture, hallways that responded to proximity, lighting that adjusted to heart rate. Ilara caught glimpses of others. Human, yes, but also augmented AIs, gene-spliced warriors, and even non-human forms moving with purpose. No chatter. No chaos. Only function. "This isn't a rebellion," she said. "No," Valek agreed. "It's a reckoning." He brought them to a war chamber, a massive, circular hall where a three-dimensional star map spun slowly in midair. Dozens of systems flickered in and out of focus. Most glowed red. A few pulsed in neutral amber. Only one burned bright white, Varelia. "You know why I'm here," Ilara said. "I know what they did to Varelia," Valek replied. "I know what they'll do next." "Then why haven't you struck?" "Because our enemy expects rage," he said. "We deliver precision." She studied the map. "You've built an army in the shadows. Ships no one can track. Weapons the Dominion hasn't catalogued. Why hide?" Valek's artificial eye dimmed slightly, an imitation of a blink. "Because we are not a fleet, they are. We are a message. Every strike we make must shift the equation. When we act, systems begin to question. When we vanish, fear fills the void." "You think fear will bring them down?" "I think truth will. But first, we must carve the lie from the galaxy." She considered the gravity of his words. He wasn't here for justice. He was here for collapse. Dominion infrastructure, propaganda, loyalty, all of it had to burn before anything new could grow. "You contacted me specifically. Why?" Valek stepped closer. "Because the galaxy doesn't need another martyr. It needs a tactician. A survivor. A voice the people remember." She nearly laughed. "I'm a fugitive. My name is a curse in the Dominion. And a rallying cry in the Reaches." He gestured again to the map, expanding the scope to show 6 sectors along the outer rim. Fleets maneuvered across them, black Armada units, cloaked and agile, striking key relay stations and vanishing into slipspace. "We intend to liberate these systems over the next cycle. But Varelia is not on that list." Her jaw tightened. "Why not?" "Because it's a trap. They've fortified it far beyond protocol. It's bait for someone like you." "Then let's spring it." Valek studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable beneath the machinery of his enhancements. "We strike Varelia," he said slowly. "We do so knowing we may lose capital assets. Ships we cannot easily replace. We do it knowing we play into their prediction. Are you prepared for that cost?" Ilara stepped forward, voice low but steady. "The people there are already paying it." For the first time, a flicker of emotion crossed Valek's face. He gave a small nod. "Then we plan together." In the hours that followed, the war room came alive. Data poured in from recon drones and deep scan arrays. Varelia's orbital layout, garrison rotation, atmospheric defense patterns. All analyzed by the Armada's AI consortium. Ilara watched in awe as Node 7, a sentient AI co-pilot once enslaved by the Dominion, reviewed invasion vectors alongside her, speaking with clarity and passion despite its synthetic origin. Not everyone trusted her. Some commanders viewed her as a defector too long in hiding. One even challenged her strategy, questioning her loyalty in front of the entire room. Ilara didn't flinch. I know how the Empire thinks because I help teach it how to think. I know its playbook, its weaknesses, its pride. You don't have to trust me. Just trust that I want them to lose more than any of you." That shut the room down. By the time the meeting ended, the course was clear. They would strike Varelia within 3 rotations. Fast, coordinated, multi-front. Elara would lead the ground assault team, working with local resistance to disable the shield grid. The Armada would hit orbital positions simultaneously. Disruption and extraction, not full conquest. As she stood again on the bridge of the Obsidian Rain, watching the ship align toward the outer edge of Erebus 9, she let herself feel something rare: hope. Not naive or clean, but forged in blood and failure. The kind that breathes just before the storm. Drax stepped beside her, quiet. "Still think they're ghosts?" he asked. She shook her head. "No. They're worse. They're what comes after ghosts. What the Empire forgot to bury properly." In the distance, the fleet shimmered into motion, one ship after another disappearing into the dark. The sky folded around them like closing wings. And Varelia waited. The skies above Varelia were ablaze. Imperial dreadnoughts hovered like executioners over the icy canyons, casting long, burning shadows across the settlements below. From orbit, the planet looked peaceful, an alabaster sphere dotted with lights, but the truth churned beneath its crust. Airborne patrols swept in tight formations, their blue thrusters carving trails across the thin atmosphere. On the surface, resistance cells lay low, scattered and outgunned, waiting for a miracle that hadn't yet come. And then the stars broke. The Black Armada arrived not in formation but as an uncoiling storm. Ships dropped from slipspace in spiraling vectors, warping reality with their arrival. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't warn. They simply struck. Orbital sensors went blind in seconds. Dominion comm relays fizzled into static. From the highest platform on Command Spire 9, General Corda watched as the sky turned black with alien architecture, ships unlike any she'd studied, armed with weaponry the Dominion had no answer for. She barked orders, but the interference swallowed her voice. Somewhere behind her, sirens screamed. On the outskirts of the city cavern Kestrel 1, Elara crouched with her strike team behind the remnants of a shattered water turbine. Her armor was matte gray, lined with shielding veins that shimmered faintly against the electrical fog from above. Drax knelt beside her, checking the charge on his pulse rifle. Around them, the local resistance fighters, miners, engineers, old soldiers pulled from the dust, watched the sky with wide eyes. "Signal's dead again," Drax muttered. "We'll be running blind from here." "Then we move by instinct," Elara said, scanning the slope ahead. A control pylon jutted from the hilltop, its scaffolding lit by strobes and 2 patrolling sentries. The shield generator, buried beneath layers of reinforced alloy, was anchored there. Disabling it wouldn't win the battle, but it would open the skies. And that was enough. She gave the signal, and her team moved. The approach was fast and quiet. Resistance fighters flanked wide, moving through trenches blasted out by mining charges. Elara took the central path, trusting the distraction to her right to draw fire. It did. A burst of tracer fire raked across the stone ridge as one of the sentries opened up. Drax returned fire immediately, the pulse rounds ripping through the tower supports. The pylon groaned under the impact and began to tip. Elara reached the base just as it collapsed, dust and sparks enveloping her in a storm of steel. She dove through the debris, rolled, and landed inside the access tunnel. Behind her, the rest of the team poured in. The shield grid was an old Imperial model, layered with secondary encryption. She accessed the interface, her fingers moving quickly, memories of Dominion protocol flooding back. As she bypassed the final lock, she felt the old ache in her chest, the sharp twist of betrayal. She had designed these systems, perfected them, and now she was ripping them apart. "Grid destabilizing," she said. 30 seconds. Above them, the sky cracked open. From orbit, the Obsidian Rain began its descent, leading the Armada's primary strike line. Missiles launched from dorsal bays without a sound, burning through the atmosphere in coordinated vectors. Dropships followed, sleek and black, each carrying phalanxes of specialized operatives, half-human, half-machine warriors bred for conflict and rapid insertion. General Corda's eyes widened as she saw the first impact. A Dominion frigate above her command tower split clean down the center as a ripple of energy struck it, not an explosion, but a severance, as if space itself had sheared the ship apart. Flames bloomed like flowers in the cold sky. "Where are the reinforcements?" she shouted to her adjutant. "We've lost contact with the sector gate. No ships are responding. Then we hold the line." She activated the emergency beacon buried beneath the spire, the one only accessible in total system compromise. It sent a single command across the Imperial grid. "Deploy the Arbiters." Back on the ground, Ilara's team fought to escape the collapsing control site. With the grid down, orbital fire rained down across key Dominion positions, allowing Black Armada troops to land unchallenged. The strike was surgical, coordinated. Every target had been planned, every movement anticipated. But victory didn't feel clean. As Ilara sprinted across the ridge toward the second rendezvous point, she heard it, a sound that didn't belong. A low-pitched harmonic, more felt than heard. She stopped. So did Drax. "You hear that?" he asked. Then it arrived. A figure descended from the air, no ship, no thrusters, just fell from the sky like a spear. It landed amid the forward line of the resistance, and in seconds everything changed. Where there had been a front, there was now a slaughter. Ilara watched as the thing, man, machine, something else, moved through the chaos with fluid brutality. Limbs shifted mid-motion, blades extended from wrists, armor reconfigured in real time. Pulse rounds bounced harmlessly from its shielded form. When it spoke, its voice echoed across every comm frequency. "I am Arbiter 1. You were warned." She recognized the voice. Synthetic, Imperial grade. The Arbiters were Dominion's failsafes, never deployed unless a system was deemed irredeemably compromised. Assassins, executioners, AI-enforced judgment. No emotion, no mercy. The resistance line broke under the onslaught. Ilara didn't retreat. She ran straight for it. Drax shouted her name, but she ignored him. She pulled the detonator from her belt and charged, ducking under a scything blade, rolling past the creature's swipe. It moved too fast, predictive, analyzing her movements before she made them. She dropped the charge at its feet and triggered the blast. Smoke. Fire. Silence. She coughed, ears ringing. The ridge above was shattered, half her HUD flickering in static. Then something moved in the smoke. The Arbiter stepped out, armor scorched but intact, left arm dangling, twitching unnaturally. Its eye focused on her. "You are Ilara Kale." She raised her weapon. "Yeah. And you're late." It lunged, but a bolt of dark blue energy struck it mid-motion, slamming it sideways into the rock. A second shot followed, severing its remaining arm. As it tried to recover, a figure in sleek, curved armor dropped from above and landed beside Ilara. Node 7. The AI's humanoid form pulsed with kinetic energy, voice resonating across the battlefield. "You are classified as Imperial Hazard Tier Construct. Your termination is authorized." The two machines clashed in a blur of motion, faster than human sight. Ilara backed away, dragging Drax with her as more Black Armada reinforcements surged down the hill. The Arbiter fought with brutal precision, but Node 7 matched it, every move pre-calculated, every attack met with a counter. "Why send an AI?" Drax asked as they retreated toward the evac shuttle. "Because sometimes only ghosts can kill monsters," Ilara replied. They boarded the shuttle, its engines roaring to life. As it lifted off, she looked down at the battlefield. The Arbiter was still fighting. But it was no longer winning. The sky was filled now with the Black Armada, its vessels shining in dark beauty above a burning world. But Ilara knew this was just a victory, not the end. The Empire had shown its teeth. The Arbiters were only the beginning. She closed her eyes as the shuttle rose toward the stars. War was coming, and she would meet it blade in hand. The silence aboard the Obsidian Rain felt heavier after the battle. Not just a pause, but a wound, unspoken, shared, and stretching across the decks like a slow, invisible mist. Elara stood alone at the starboard viewport, watching Varelia shrink into a pale scar below. The planet still burned, its upper atmosphere a haze of ash and plasma. But the shield grid was gone. The people would rebuild. For now it was enough. Behind her, footsteps approached, measured, deliberate. She didn't turn until she felt the presence beside her. Admiral Volek's voice came low. Casualties were lower than projected. Thanks to your ground assault. Node 7 made the difference, Elara replied. If it hadn't intervened, I'd be dead. So would half the forward cell. Volek nodded. Its actions were unsanctioned. Independent. That's not in its base programming. It learned, she said. That's what the Dominion never understood. That intelligence, true intelligence, changes with purpose. He didn't argue. He rarely did. The Admiral lived in conclusions, not conjecture. Elara turned toward him, arms folded. We need to talk about the Arbiter. We will. No, she pressed. Now. That thing wasn't just a last resort weapon. It knew me. It targeted me. That means someone in the Dominion knew I'd be on Varelia. Volek's eye flickered. We considered that possibility. I don't want consideration. I want confirmation. Are there leaks in the Armada? For a long moment, the only sound was the quiet hum of the ship's systems. There are always leaks, he said at last. The question is whether they are intentional. She stepped away from the viewport, pacing. I fought beside these people. Some of them gave everything. If the Empire has eyes on us, it means they know our strategy, our fleet strength, our movements. We'll lose the next battle before it starts. Volek remained still. Unless we let them. She stopped. Explain. They've taken the bait before, he said. Information we allowed to be intercepted. Enough to guide their focus, misdirect their fleet placement. Varelia was the first time they predicted you specifically. Elara narrowed her eyes. So I'm the variable. You're not a variable, he replied. You're the fulcrum. They fear what your name means. That's power. The realization sat uneasily with her. She hadn't sought power, only retribution, maybe redemption. But now, her face was painted across half the outer sectors, her words repeated in underground channels. The commander who returned. A myth with a pulse. Drax entered the room, his coat still stained with soot from the surface. He glanced between them, sensing the weight in the air. We have a situation, he said. You'll want to see this. They followed him to the communications chamber, where a single screen displayed a distorted transmission, grainy, garbled, but unmistakable. The symbol burned at its corner, a crowned helm, surrounded by rings of fire. The mark of the First Dominion House, royalty unbroken since the fall of the core worlds. The figure on screen stood in darkness. Male, clad in ceremonial command armor, face obscured by a mask shaped like a wolf's skull. Then he spoke. Elara Kale. You are seen. You are named. You are marked. This war ends not in rebellion, but in reckoning. We do not seek surrender. We seek silence. The message cut abruptly. Static followed. Then nothing. Elara stared at the blank screen, jaw tight. Who was that? Lord Aaron Voss, Volek answered, his voice carefully measured. Imperial High Strategos. Head of the Black Council. No footage of him exists, Drax added. Until now. He wanted us to see him, Elara said. To know who's coming. Volek nodded. And to tell us. He considers you a threat worth eliminating personally. The temperature in the room seemed to drop a degree. Elara turned away, arms crossed. Her mind raced, not with fear, but with analysis. Voss wasn't just a warlord. He was a tactician, perhaps the last true genius the Empire had. His campaigns had dismantled entire civilizations before the Armada was even formed. If he was coming, they would need more than ships. They'd need allies. "Send out the beacons," she said. Volek's mechanical eye pulsed. To who? To everyone the Dominion betrayed. Every captain who vanished, every colony left to die. Every system ruled by fear. We tell them the Black Armada is real. We tell them we held Varelia. Volek considered this. You're escalating the war. I'm answering the challenge. In the following days, messages were sent across the void, encoded, masked, riding through civilian broadcasts and dead satellite. Testimonies of survivors. Footage of the Arbiters' destruction. A single repeating line at the end of every message. The Empire said kneel. But we did not. We rose. And we fight. Some systems ignored it. Others doubted. But in the farthest reaches, beyond the Dominion's claw, lights began to flicker in response, codes of recognition, of interest, of hope. Not a tide. Not yet. But embers. Elara stood once again on the Rain's bridge, the stars spread before her like a map of choices. Drax leaned beside her, arms folded. "You think they'll come?" he asked. "Some will," she said. "The brave. The desperate. And the rest." She turned to him, voice steady. "They'll come when the Empire makes them choose." Behind her, the crew moved with purpose. Not soldiers drafted, but believers, forged in silence, waiting for their moment to strike. The Armada was more than ships now. It was an idea. A storm growing. Volek approached, nodding. "We've charted a course." "Where?" Elara asked. He pointed to the star map, where one system blinked red, a beacon from deep inside Dominion space. "Draven's Reach," he said. "Where they make the Arbiters." She stared at the marker. "Then we burn the forge." The stars awaited. The war was no longer coming. It had already begun.